Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Nainika, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you all a few tips with which you can read more books. So all of the tips that I will be sharing with you all today will help you in different spheres of your life. While they will also help you to read more books, I think these are tips that will help in, say, dealing with the work pressure from your job, from college, university, school, all of that. Because these are tested and proved. These are tips that I use every day, if not every day, in my general life. And so they have genuinely helped me to read more books, to become much more organized, you could say. As of today, and today is the 4th of April 2020, I have finished reading 47 books, and I'm also currently reading 3 books. In 2019, last year, I read 265 books, which I think is great. 265 is a number which I never reached before in 1 year. I did not read as many books in a year as I did last year, and I think it is solely because all of these rules and ways I followed, all of these tips I followed, and that is why I could read so much more. But apart from the fact that I could read so much more, I have become a much more organized person, I think. So I hope these tips will help you all, and if you have any such tips which you personally follow and which help you all, then you could definitely leave them down in the comment section, because everybody should get as much help as they want from this video. So if I come up with certain more upgrades with all of these tips, I'll certainly inform you all, but as of now I'll just wrap up this intro and we'll get right on to the video. So I've got all of the tips, which are 12 in number. I've got all of them written down here, and I'll just start saying what they are and how they have helped me. So my first tip is to simply get a planner. You know how this helps? When you have a planner, you plan out every aspect of your life, and it helps you get organized. And the most important thing is, it shows you how much time you utilize, and it shows you how much time you waste every day. So, you know, you might put certain tasks like, I have to do this, I have to do that, but at the end of the day, you'll see it took you much more time maybe to do one particular task, because you thought, oh, I have all the time in the world, and I can take all the time I need, and I'll do it slowly. But then when you have the bullet journal, you will basically see that you could have done this work in so much lesser time, net worth of time, and it will basically make you very, very accountable. It has for me. This is my bullet journal. I have been using the same, I've been using the same model for like a couple of years now. It's from the company Minora, and I really love it. And it has, of course, made me very accountable. And me being a person who forgets a lot about, say, assignment dates, due dates, and all of that, it has been really great to have a bullet journal, because then I can stay updated and all of that. And yeah, another thing is that what happens to me if I write down my list, I have, let me show you, this is my April wrap-up page. So I have the books that I've read, the stars I rate for it, and like the dates. So when I write down this list, see, I'm a very visual person, so having lists really helped me. It's like, I am very competitive, and if I say that, oh, I finished this, I finished doing this and this, I feel accomplished. So this really helps me. And if you are such a person as well, if you are a visual person, and if you tend to waste time or procrastinate, which I sometimes do, of course, not sometimes, most of the time, then you should definitely get a journal as well. And it's not very necessary that you get a very expensive journal. For instance, another one that I'm using, this one is actually from 2019. This is a journal, a diary, which I never use, and so I'm reusing it to write down like certain things that I might not write down in my bullet journal, all of that. So it's not necessary that you have a very, beautiful aesthetic bullet journal, or any journal for that matter. What matters is that you have a planner, and that planner can be a notepad, little notepad, an old diary, whatever works, the back of your notebook. But the only thing that matters is that you should have one designated planner, which will help you to stay organized. My next tip for you all is to set monthly TBR goals. Now TBR stands for to be read. So basically TBR goals is like I want to read. My TBR list, my to be read list for April say consists of these books. So it makes you accountable when you know that you have written, and yes, most importantly, you have to write these down. So when you know that you have written down these goals, you are much more willing to work for them. I think it's very psychological at least, and that written down list really helps the TBR goals. It's like I have to reach all of these goals for myself. Now another aspect of this goal setting which I will tell you is that I personally tend to set higher goals for myself than is achievable. Now this might not work for everyone, so you have to keep that in mind. For me, I like to set the goal at like 15 books. I like to read 15 books every month. So that is a goal that I set for myself. And I know that 15 books in a month is quite a lot. So even if I don't reach 15, even if I reach like 10 is a good enough number for me. So like I aim for the moon, and even if I reach short, I fall for the stars. It's something like that. So yeah, that is something that I do. I set higher goals for myself to help me psychologically work harder to reach all of them. So that's the second tip. You have to set TBR goals for yourself. So the third goal is to set deadlines for yourself. Again, this is a very psychological thing, and we all have started to understand the value, the importance of a deadline. It's like whenever your subconscious will tell you, you have a deadline at this time, you have to read the book. Now, I know many of you will disagree with me, because many of you, I mean, even I think that reading should be done for pleasure. But if you want to get into this exercise of reading, if you feel like you don't read enough, at the beginning at least, setting these goals, setting these rules for yourself will really help you, I think, because once you ease into this habit, it will come naturally to you. So of course, all of these rules are not for everyone. You have to tailor them to your own expectation, to your own life. I know as a student right now, for me, 15 books is okay. I know, like for my mom, maybe as a working individual, 15 books is unrealistic for her. She reads like 5 books a month, and that's good enough for her. So you have to tailor all of that according to your lifestyle. So yeah, setting deadlines is the key. I really like to read at least 2 books a week. It's good enough, and sometimes I usually tend to read 1 book in one sitting, and that's the way I reach my goal. If I really like the book, I'll just go through it very fast. And another thing which I've seen quite a lot of people do, I personally don't do it, so I find it kind of weird, because okay, let me tell you the thing first. It's like they set like certain amount of time to read a book. It's like they'll read 5 chapters today, 5 chapters tomorrow. I personally cannot do that. It's not, I mean, I tend to go like quite fast, so I'm not a good partner for buddy reads, I think. But yeah, you can also do that, of course. It's different for everyone, like I said, but for me, it's like I see a book, it's like 200-page thick. Let me show you. It also, of course, depends. Now, this is a book which I read in March, and I read it over 3 or 4 days. So for me, this thick book in 3 or 4 days was quite well, because at that time the lockdown has just started, and I was not in the perfect mindset to like read so fast and all of that. So it took me like 4 or 5 days to read this one, and that was okay for me. As long as a book does not take me more than a week, it's really good. And since this is a thick one, for me, this one taking 4 or 5 days is okay. But for a normal sized book, for instance, Reef, this one this one also I read in March. So for me, this took like 2 days, I think, to read, because it's short and it takes lesser time to read. So it's like that. I don't have like everyday goals, but I really like to keep it at least 2 books per week. That's my deadline. So again, I'm giving you different variations of all the goals I'm telling you, but all the tips I'm telling you, but I just hope that these examples will help you to understand your own reading style, your reading system, and incorporate all of these into your lifestyle. Another tip that I will be sharing with you all is to indulge in guilty reads. Now, I personally don't like the term guilty reads because it's like you're guilty to read these, but by definition, for me, the guilty reads are my romance novels, like purely romance novels, like Mills and Bones, and any of the other really quick one sitting reads, which I really like to read sometimes at nights. Let me tell you how many such very short romance reads I picked up in this month, specifically in March. So I just checked. In March, I read 5 such guilty read books. All of these were really chill, mindless sort of reads, because at times when you don't want to read heavy books, I would suggest that you go for these guilty reads. For instance, once I'm done with a really thick book, for instance, Discovery of Witches, I am not in the mindset to immediately pick up a thick book again. So in the short while before I take up another book after finishing one, I often tend to read all of these short romance novels. These are very insta love most of the time. Certain romances that you can read, and my favorites are Alexa Riley, Penny Wilder, Alexa Reed also. I think I have quite a few such authors whom I go to when I am in the need for something mindless, something fun, some romance. So that's another tip. Always indulge in guilty reads, and you shouldn't feel guilty for reading them. The next tip is kind of an offshoot of this one. It's to read books that you enjoy. Now, I have many people who ask me, I really want to get into reading, so suggest me some books that I might enjoy, and that leaves me blind because I have no answer for that. Now, if you are thinking that you want to start reading and you are not sure which book to read, I would suggest you to go through the kind of movies, series you like to watch. So if you like to watch something thriller, crime fiction, true crime series, movies, all of that, then you can definitely read all the crime thrillers. There are quite many. There are classic thrillers as well, modern thrillers, and all of that. So if you want to start reading, I would suggest you start reading something that you love, some genre that you like, and probably take that from the sort of movies or series that you watch. My next tip for you all is to simply keep a book on you always. Now, for me, it's a very everyday thing. I always have a book on me. Even when I'm going to college, I have a book on me that I know that if I get a free slot somewhere, I'll definitely pick up that book. And it's like that. It really helps you read more. And sometimes, to be honest, when you don't want to interact socially, it's a great excuse to read. You can just say, I gotta read and I will go to the library, all of that. So have a book on you always, even when you're perhaps waiting in a queue, perhaps, all of that. I mean, when you think about it, there are no examples that you can give, but then when you are in the situation, you're just sitting and you'll be like, oh man, I should have brought that book with me. So it's like that. I would always definitely advise you to keep a book on yourself, and that's for physical books. Now, for ebooks, I would suggest you download certain apps. For instance, we have the Kindle app. I really use it. I love it. There are many free books that are available on Amazon as well, so you can definitely bring them with you. And I think at any moment at any given time, you should have the physical book. And if it's a book that is either too thick or it's taking too long for you to read, you should also have the ebook with you, because then when you are free and you don't actually have the physical book with you, you can instead read the ebook. So yeah, you should always definitely have a book on yourself, and basically it'll help you avoid people if you want to, and then avoid getting bored, basically. So yeah, that is also another tip. And then the next tip that I have for you all is to take part in readathons. Now, readathons are basically reading marathons. I participate in quite a few readathons myself. We have this one called 7 books in 7 days, where you have to read 7 books in 7 days, like the name suggests. So all of these will make you feel very competitive. It will rouse the competitive spirit in you and make you read a lot. So that really helps. And again, an offshoot of this tip, another tip is basically to join a book club perhaps. Now there are many book clubs. I personally have a book club. There are also a couple of book clubs I know that are linked down below, so be sure to join them. So yeah, book clubs, when you are in a book club, you basically have a book of the month, and when you have a book of the month, all of the people read this one particular book and then you all discuss it. And as such, you'll obviously feel like when there's a discussion going on, you'll have to put forward your views as well, and you will want to. So you will read the book, and basically it will really encourage you. It's like, you know, in a group, maybe somebody will be squealing with delight over a new handsome character that has just arrived, and they'll be like, oh my god, this guy is new, this character is new, and I love him, he's mine. And they'll be like, oh, who is that? I am explaining this to you in a very funny way, but it happens to us, it happens to me. I fangirl a lot over many great characters, so I'm sure you relate at least in one level or the other. But yeah, book discussions will really want you to get involved with the book itself, and it will really help you to read the book and delve into it. Now, the next 3 tips that I will be sharing with you all are ones that will help you in the other sectors of your life as well, and not just reading a book. And the first tip that I have to give you is to have a dictionary with you, a pocket dictionary perhaps, if you're like roaming about and not in your home. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if you have a pocket dictionary, you will just pick it up, check out the word, and that's it. You'll get back to reading after understanding the word. But perhaps if you are using your phone's dictionary, you might tend to like switch on the internet, and then you'll get all of these notifications from the different apps and all of that, and you'll get distracted. And if you are a person who does not get distracted, then well and good. But if you are a person who gets distracted, then I would definitely recommend you to use a physical dictionary as opposed to an online dictionary. I would also advise you all to have a set space, a workspace basically. I think it's a very psychological thing again. If you work in your bed, your brain tends to get confused messages. It's like, am I supposed to sleep here? Am I supposed to study here? So most of the time when people study on their beds, they feel very sleepy. Now, I am a person who has got this sorted. I only sleep on my bed and I watch Netflix sometimes. But when it comes to studying or reading any book, again, I always wake up from my bed and like I go to my table. My mind has become habituated with this. It's like whenever I am on my table, I'm at my table, I will study, I will read, I will do all the productive works, as opposed to when I'm in bed and just lazing about. So having a set workspace will really help you. These days I am trying out a new reading space to just provide some change to myself, and as you can see, it's this area. I've got certain dried flowers. I've also got this this one. Then I've also got a board here where I write things that I need to do. For instance, this one is just a reminder of an assignment that I need to submit. I have got this whole brown paper stuck up on the wall in front of me so that I can just write in different things I want to remember, or certain things that come to my mind suddenly. It also helps as a great distraction page, because when I'm reading and I get distracted, this is the page where I write down all the thoughts that are in my mind and all of that. You can see there are like a couple of quotes here already, and I'm hoping this will be really helpful for me. So the bonus tip for you all today is, if you find difficulty in reading because of, say, certain noise in your background, then I would really advise you to check out white noise and like put that on. And you know, white noise does not necessarily have to be the usual static kind of noise thing that people use. For instance, for you, it can be a soothing thing. I personally prefer to use piano music in the background, only piano, and I cannot have anything else. Piano and rain, that's it. Because if I use something else, say for instance even guitar or the violin, they don't work for me. So I need either the rain or the piano, or both together. And I've recently come across this video on YouTube, which I think is really great. It's an edit of a popular song, Dancing with a Stranger by Sam Smith, which I really love. The original song, of course, I love that, but this particular account has made an edit of the song. So it's like you're waking up from sleep and it's like you're underwater and the music is playing somewhere. It's very soothing and it's not distracting. it's not abrupt, there is this flow. I'm saying a lot, but I'll definitely link that down below because it has helped me, and I hope it will help you as well, with the white noise, with the whole distraction, the cutting down of the distraction thing. My last tip for you all is the most simplest one, and it is to read every day. Now, I know you might think that, oh, you don't have time to read every day, but it's not so. I mean, you might think that you don't have time every day to read, but you definitely do. At least if you wake up early, if you're a morning person, I would recommend you all to wake up and keep the book by your bedside, on your bedside table, or just by your pillow, so that when you wake up you can read at least a few pages, and so that's your reading quota done for the day. I personally am not a morning person, so I wake up at like 11 o'clock and my half of the day is wasted, but then again I make up for it during the night. I stay up late, I can't sleep early. So I tend to read throughout the day, and I also like to read a bit before I sleep at night. I always need to read a bit on my phone before I sleep at night. I call it night, and it's just stuck with me. So I read throughout, but of course, if you are just beginning, I would recommend you to check out the popular time periods of like just waking up in the morning, just before sleeping at night. And then if you are taking afternoon naps these days, then after lunch you can perhaps read a few pages, you'll fall asleep easily. And during your lunch break, if you are still working, at least if you're working from home, then during your lunch you can just read a book and have a leisurely lunch. It will really help. So these time slots are quite popular when it comes to you trying to read every day. So that's it, guys. These are my tips to help you all read more. I hope I was clear enough, lucid enough, and I hope these tips will really help you. They really have. I mean, I read 265 books in 2019, go figure. So I hope these tips will really help you as well. And if you have any feedback and all, don't forget to leave them down in the comment section below. I'll also definitely link a lot of the links that I have talked about in the description box, so do check that out for the white noise as well as the book clubs and it's all of that. So I'll also leave my book of the month down in this description box below, so you can definitely check that out and read the book throughout April and give me your feedbacks on what you feel about it. And that's it. I hope you all enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and click on the bell icon down below, and I'll see you soon in my next video.